When a child is reported missing, emotions become raw, which can hinder the ability of parents to make rational decisions. Yet, the actions of parents and of law enforcement in the first 48 hours are critical to the safe recovery of a missing child. Knowing what you can do, what others can do, and where to go for help will not only expedite the search and recovery of your child, it also will help to ease the emotional and financial burden of the search. This chapter examines your role and the role of others in the immediate search for your missing child, and discusses what steps should be taken in the event that your child does not return within the first few days. The parent's role in the search, the first 48 hours. In the initial stage of the search, devote your time to providing information to and answering questions from investigators. Once you discover that your child is missing, you will desperately want to help with the search. You may in fact wonder how you possibly can stand by and let others look for your child. But the reality is that in most instances, the best use of your energy is not on the physical search itself. Rather, you need to provide information to and answer questions from investigators, and to be at home in the event your child calls. The checklist gathering evidence in the first 48 hours identifies the most crucial pieces of background information and evidence that law enforcement will need in the search for your child. The role of law enforcement in the search. When a child has disappeared, most of the initial searching of the area where the child is believed to have been last will be coordinated by law enforcement, either federal, state, or local, depending on the circumstances of the disappearance. Law enforcement needs to direct the search effort in order to make sure that the search is performed properly and that the evidence located during the search and at the crime scene is properly protected and preserved. Usually, law enforcement agencies can quickly obtain the necessary equipment and mobilize additional personnel by bringing in outside forces. Because time is a critical factor in the search and recovery effort, equipment and staff should be requested at the beginning of the process. Your local agency may request that tracking or trailing dogs, infrared devices that locate heat given off from the body, or helicopters be delivered to the scene, and may request help from the Border Patrol, the Coast Guard, the National Guard, other military personnel, or correctional institution staff. Many of these groups are already trained in search procedures, and their established chain of command makes the search effort more likely to be thorough, comprehensive, and efficient. In addition, the FBI maintains field offices that have evidence response teams that could be of assistance in cases of missing or abducted children. Ask your law enforcement agency about its plan. Make sure the agency has a copy of Missing and Abducted Children, a law enforcement guide to case investigation and program management, published by NCMEC, which provides step-by-step instructions on how to respond to and investigate missing children cases and details procedures for conducting and managing the search. Typically, your law enforcement agency will designate one or two persons to coordinate and manage the search. Ask for the name and telephone number of your law enforcement coordinator as soon as possible. Keep this information where you can find it in a safe, convenient place. Keep the lines of communication open between you and your search coordinator. Don't be afraid to ask questions, make suggestions, or air differences of opinion. Find out what types of searches are planned. Ask your search coordinator what types of searches are being conducted, and make sure you feel comfortable that the search effort is adequate. Records documenting which areas were searched, who was present, and what was found will be kept. Law enforcement will maintain a record showing what areas have been searched and by whom. A second search of critical areas for information and clues might be advisable because something may have been overlooked during the initial search. Tracking or trailing dogs, preferably bloodhounds, should be brought immediately to the scene where your child was last seen. The fresher the trail, the more likely the dogs will be able to find your child. Bloodhounds are your best bet because they have 60 times the tracking power of German shepherds, can discriminate among scents, and can follow your child's scent in the air and on the ground. This means that they may be able to pick up your child's scent, even if he or she was carried in someone's arms or in a vehicle. The role of volunteers in the search. If volunteers are used in the search, your law enforcement agency should still be responsible for managing the overall search effort. The extent to which volunteers are used in the search will depend on whether additional personnel, beyond the military, are needed. A volunteer search coordinator may be needed to organize the volunteer search effort. Try to recruit established organizations, agencies, or groups, rather than individual volunteers, in the search. The use of affiliated groups makes it possible to quickly gather and organize a large number of volunteers. It also provides an inner chain of command, which makes communication and training easier, and provides an internal screening mechanism. When volunteers are used, Request that the volunteer staging area be located away from your home. There will be enough traffic, chaos, and confusion at your home without the added burden of volunteer search teams. All volunteer searchers should be required to sign in each time they participate in a search activity. The sign-in procedure can be as simple as asking the volunteer searchers to show their driver's licenses and to list in a logbook their names, addresses, and organizational affiliations, such as the Boy Scouts, local labor union, place of business, or local post of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Keep all records for future reference. A more elaborate sign-in procedure involves videotaping the sign-in and search efforts. Although it is impossible to videotape every search from start to finish, videotapes that show the searchers, the sign-in process, and the search locations can provide valuable information about possible clues and suspects. Some situations that seem innocent initially, such as the repeated appearance of an overly concerned searcher, may not be as innocent as they appear. Request that law enforcement run background checks on persons volunteering for the search for prior criminal activity. In previous cases, thieves, pedophiles, and even the missing child's abductor have been known to join in a search. Background checks can prevent misguided people from volunteering, and sometimes can provide information that helps law enforcement conduct the search. Have your volunteer coordinator talk with law enforcement to determine whether additional equipment or personnel are needed to make the search quick and massive enough. When the search for a child becomes long-term, not all parents can or will want to be actively involved in the search. It is okay if you choose not to be involved. But if you want to remain active in the long-term search effort, there are a number of things that you and other family members, friends, or volunteers can do to aid in the process. Develop a plan and set a schedule with goals for continuing the search for your child. Schedule regular visits with your investigator. Ask to see your child's case file periodically. You may recognize something meaningful that was overlooked or remember something significant that law enforcement was not aware of. Be aware that there may be pieces of information that law enforcement cannot, or does not want to, release to you because it may jeopardize or hinder the investigation. This is okay. Keep a spiral notebook with you to record your thoughts and review it periodically. Find out what Crime Stoppers can do to help with the search. The use of private detectives. If the immediate search is not successful, you may be tempted to try almost anything. Some parents turn to private detectives to aid in the search. When your loved one is missing, be aware of overzealous people. Be prepared to encounter a few people who are fanatical or obsessive in their behavior or in their desire to help. Keep in mind that some people may try to use your loss to gain attention for themselves. Protect yourself from people who might be delusional or who may prey on victims through scams or by offering false hopes and expectations. The key is to keep your focus and exercise caution. The following slide provides a list of websites and organizations where you will find help. If your law enforcement point of contact has not provided you with the Family Guide When Your Child Goes Missing, please request it.